Something big is happening in Baltimore, and you can feel it changing the entire mood around this team. After back-to-back wins, Lamar Jackson's explosive return, and a jump in the power rankings, it suddenly feels like the Ravens flipped a switch that everyone had been waiting for. And what makes this moment so special isn't just the numbers. It's what this shift could mean from here on out. Because if things keep going at this pace, what once looked like a messy, complicated season might turn into something way bigger than anyone expected. And that's why this news hits so hard. Its impact could be much larger than it seems right now. It's crazy how two strong performances can completely change the atmosphere around a team. After blowing out the Miami Dolphins in prime time and finally putting together 2 wins in a row, the Ravens went from a cloud of uncertainty to a team nobody wants to overlook. The shift was so obvious that almost every national analyst started looking at Baltimore differently, pushing the team up their weekly rankings. That old image of a team struggling to find itself has faded away, replaced by a real sense of momentum and renewed confidence. The power rankings, always full of debates and hot takes, make this turnaround crystal clear. A few weeks ago, some people had Baltimore near the bottom of the list, treating them like a team just trying to survive. Now, that changed fast. Some outlets have the Ravens at 12th, others at 14th, 15th, or 16th. Even the most conservative lists admit it. Baltimore is climbing, and this rise didn't come out of nowhere. It came from actual performance, new energy, and an offense that finally started breathing again after weeks of frustration. What's interesting is how these rankings capture more than stats. They capture a moment. When a team starts playing its best football exactly when it needs it most, people notice. That win over Miami, especially, sent a message. This is not the same inconsistent team from the start of the season. Analysts saw it and reacted instantly, moving Baltimore up like they were saying, all right, now we're seeing something real. It was almost like the respect they had lost earlier snapped right back. And that shift in national perception puts Baltimore in a completely different light within the NFL conversation. Instead of being viewed as a team battling injuries and inconsistency, the Ravens are suddenly back in the mix as a group that can cause real problems. When a team starts trending up like this, it usually means something important has happened behind the scenes, and analysts know how to spot that. They can sense when a team is heating up. All of this naturally raises a question that everyone's starting to ask. What exactly triggered this momentum, and how did this turnaround happen so fast? And that's where the conversation inevitably points to the guy who changed everything the moment he stepped back on the field, Lamar Jackson. When the national rankings dropped, one thing became obvious right away. Nobody could ignore the immediate impact Lamar Jackson brought the second he returned. Every outlet highlighted it in their own way, but they all focus on the same point. This offense just looks different when Lamar's out there. The numbers tell part of the story, but the real magic is how he changes the entire energy of the team. With him on the field, you feel like any play can suddenly turn into something huge. Sports Illustrated didn't waste time. They pointed straight to the ridiculous efficiency Lamar posted, even after missing games. The rating, the touchdown percentage, the decision-making, it all came back like he never left. For anyone who watches him closely, that wasn't shocking. Lamar has always elevated this team. But seeing him do it immediately after weeks on the sideline brought a wave of relief to anyone who thought the season was slipping away. Others, like The Ringer, noticed something even more interesting. While Baltimore struggled and Lamar was injured, the conversation about him basically disappeared. Nobody was paying real attention. Then he came back and instantly reminded everyone why he has 2 MVPs. It was like a whole league woke up at the same time. The narrative flipped from, can Lamar bounce back? To, the AFC better pay attention. NFL.com added another perspective, pointing out how the team responded emotionally to his return. It wasn't just physical impact. It was a feeling of, we're back. The wins, the touchdowns, the confidence. Everything hit differently. It's hard to measure that kind of spark, but when the entire roster suddenly looks faster, looser, more sure of itself, there's usually one reason at the center of it all. And with Lamar reigniting the offense, the next question everyone started asking wasn't about stats or rankings. It was about what this means for the AFC North race. Because if your best player comes back playing at this level, the entire outlook of the division shifts instantly. The AFC North suddenly feels alive again after this winning streak. For weeks, it looked like the Steelers were the ones controlling the narrative, while many people wrote off Baltimore as a team that would hover in the middle of the standings. But the new evaluations show how drastically things have changed. Now the division looks like a tight, unpredictable fight, with Baltimore climbing fast. ESPN broke this down perfectly. The race is basically a two-team sprint now. The probability numbers show how close it really is. Steelers slightly ahead, Ravens right behind, separated by almost nothing. That gap is small enough that any game can flip the story. For anyone who remembers how the season started, this scenario felt impossible. But the standings don't lie. The door is open again. What still hangs in the air, though, is Baltimore's recent history in Pittsburgh. For losses in the last 5 games, they create this emotional hurdle the team needs to clear. Analysts pointed it out not as criticism, but as a reminder. If Baltimore wants to take control of the AFC North, this is a challenge they have to face. Still, the tone is different now. Before it looked like a wall. Now, it looks like an opportunity. Several outlets also highlighted how this team just feels alive again. Sporting News and Yahoo both said it plainly. The Ravens with Lamar back look like a completely different group. None of that is exaggeration. It's what the tape shows. The rhythm is back. The explosiveness is back. And the style of play looks sharper, more confident, more assertive in big moments. And this tight division race leads directly to another topic repeated across multiple analyses. The impact of finally having a healthy roster and a defense that looks like itself again. The division may be up for grabs, but the reason Baltimore is back in this fight goes way deeper than standings.
All right, we're already past the halfway point of this video, but before we continue, I noticed you haven't left a like yet. It's really important because it helps YouTube keep showing you my content so I can keep bringing you the best news about the Baltimore Ravens. So go ahead and hit that like button. It's free and it really helps. Thanks. Now let's get back to it.
One thing became crystal clear across all the national evaluations. The Ravens only managed to turn their season around because they finally started getting healthy. For almost 2 months, it felt like the team was dragging a weight behind it. Key injuries everywhere. Players rotating in and out, and a defense barely holding things together. But the good news is that the tides turned. When Lamar came back, he wasn't alone. He returned to a team that could finally breathe again. The Athletic called this out directly. Judging Baltimore was hard because a real version of the team barely showed up this season. Every game felt like a partial roster. But as the injury list shrank, the national evaluation shifted. Yes, the losses still show up on paper, but look at who they came against: Bills, Chiefs, Lions. And suddenly the bigger picture makes sense. That's why so many experts still believe in this roster. Bleacher Report took it further and placed the defense at the center of the conversation. Against Miami, for example, they did something that looked impossible a month ago. They kept that explosive offense out of the end zone, forced turnovers, and played with swagger again. Performances like that don't happen randomly. They happen when the right players finally get back on the field, and the system starts functioning the way it was designed to. NFL.com added that the team didn't just get healthy. It rediscovered something you can't capture in stats: rhythm. When a team gets key players back and wins immediately, that mix creates a completely different chemistry. Suddenly, everything feels smoother. That's exactly what happened with Baltimore. The pieces started falling back into place. And once everything began to click, analysts naturally shifted to the next big question. With the team getting healthier and rebuilding its identity, what does a favorable schedule mean for this resurgence? Because this is where the season can truly shift gears. The detail that excited analysts the most was a perfect combination of momentum and a schedule that finally works in Baltimore's favor. After weeks of tough opponents and endless injuries, the Ravens hit a key stretch of the season with something they didn't have before: the chance to build a real run. CBS Sports, Fox Sports, and Sharp Football all circled this moment as a huge opportunity. The upcoming matchups explain the optimism. The next few games don't bring the same pressure as facing Buffalo, Kansas City, or Detroit. Instead, Baltimore gets more manageable opponents, the kind of games where Lamar, Derrick Henry, and a revitalized defense can control the tempo. It doesn't mean automatic wins. Nothing in the NFL is easy, but it does mean the path is finally clear for sustained momentum. Sharp Football highlighted a key stat. Baltimore went from one of the toughest early season schedules to one of the most favorable remaining ones. That's not an opinion. That's probability shifting. And when the offense starts hitting 200 passing yards again, when Derrick Henry returns to 100-yard games, and when the defense begins forcing turnovers like old times, all those little things create the perfect environment for a rapid climb. Fox Sports, even with a cautious tone, pointed out something important. This is exactly the type of situation where dangerous teams start to rise. If Baltimore handles business week after week, they could reach Thanksgiving and that December showdown with the Steelers in a completely different position than anyone expected when the season started. That's how quietly built momentum becomes something massive. And this mix, healthier roster, favorable schedule, and star players returning to peak form, leads to the same question whispered across almost every national breakdown. How far can this team actually go if it keeps trending upward at this speed? After everything, Lamar's dominant return, the defense coming back to life, the power rankings jump, and a schedule that finally offers some breathing room, it's clear the Baltimore Ravens are living their best moment of the season. The combination of health, confidence, and performance has put the team right back on the national radar, and now the conversation isn't about surviving anymore. It's about how far this resurgence can go. Now I want to know your take. After such a fast and impressive turnaround, do you think the Ravens have what it takes to get back into the AFC North race for real and reshape the season? Because if they keep playing like this, it won't be long before Baltimore becomes a team nobody wants to face. And this might just be the beginning of something much bigger.
And if you, just like me, are passionate about the world of football and want to learn more about the Ravens' legacy, don't leave this video without sharing it with that friend who is also a Baltimore Ravens fan and will love this content. See those video suggestions on your screen? The first one was handpicked just for you, and the other is a recommendation from YouTube itself.